Hi, my name is Sarah Habib, and I'm the founder of the Calm Caterpillar. We design toys and curriculum to help kids manage big feelings through breathing. I have a BA from Tufts University in American Studies, and I'm certified by Mindful Schools. I've spent the last 11 years really focusing on how mindfulness can help kids change the way they feel and how best to include that in both home and school life. Our very first product was Call Me the Caterpillar. The reason we designed Call Me is we wanted to take those plastic breathing spheres and come up with a really fun way to engage kids in deep breathing. So we said, how can we make it cute and cuddly, and how can we have the secondary purpose, right? So it's lightly weighted around your neck, and then Call Me still stretches in and out because it has an elastic core that allows you to have that same functionality of a breathing ball. This was our first product. And yes, it is innovative. It is one of the only weighted soft plush that move and expand like that. But we said we needed more. I kept hearing from teachers specifically, breathing is a really nebulous concept for kids. They need something that they can hold that allows them to actually move through the motions of a breathing technique. And that's why I think our most innovative product is actually Bloomy, which is a breathing fidget, and it's designed to help kids do flower and candle breath. Again, breathing is this nebulous concept, but flower and candle breath is a really old breathing idea, and it works so well because kids know how to smell a flower and they know how to blow out a candle. But now we need to make it something that they can hold and so you smell the flower, you push it through, and you blow out the candle. And so it allows you to not only fidget with it, but it also allows you to practice the technique. Again, smell the flower. So I'm actually smelling a flower, and then I blow out the candle. So it's really easy for kids to understand those two things. And so this is the only product in the market. This is a patent pending product that literally teaches kids a breathing technique. So we said, wow, now that we've done it for flower and candle, what else can we do it for? So this comes as both a bee and as a lion. So this is an example of the one as a lion. So you smell the flower. We wanted to create that consistency from product to product, and then you roar out like a lion for lion's breath. And we also have one with a bee that you do for buzzing breath. And I think these breathing fidgets really allow kids portability, versatility, can be in a calm corner, can be in a purse, can be in a diaper bag, can be in a briefcase. These can be anywhere. They're really lightweight. They can travel with you. They can be in a hospital setting. They can be wiped down. There's so many different ways to use these tools that allow kids to truly understand how to take a deep breath. So one of the ways that Bloomy really started was in a classroom here in Cincinnati where I live. We had taped a fake flower to a candle. We were working with a group of students who were struggling to get this idea of flower and candle breath. We did the thing which we always do, which is you grab an imaginary flower in one hand, you grab a candle in the other, smell my imaginary flower, blow out my imaginary candle. And for some kids, that's not enough. So we actually created Bloomy out of one fake flower with a candle on the other side. And we would just flip it up and down so they could hold it. And I was like, wait a second, there's a product here. So we literally took that, really rudimentary design and said, can we create a fidget out of it? So that's why you can go like this and this and this, right? It gives us that fidget functionality while still then offering that same versatility of flower, candle. And so it really came out of, we made the most basic version of this in a classroom and then said, how can we mass produce it and make it better? So we all know that breathing is a vasodilator. When we take a look at kids who are experiencing chronic stress or who have a high ACE score, right, 3 or more, one of the things that we know is that they need to increase their protective factors to manage that chronic stress. Since breathing is a vasodilator, it literally helps reduce cortisol in the body and mitigate some of the negative consequences that happen from having a high ACE score or chronic stress. So when we can teach little kids to use breathing on a daily basis to manage the stress in their life, we are equipping them with one of the most valuable skills that will literally guide them throughout the rest of their life. Our program in itself has been studied by both the University of Cincinnati and the University of Illinois. And it's found that when these products are in a classroom, not only do we see a decrease in classroom disruptions, we see an increase in a child's pro-social skills, meaning their ability to solve conflict with themselves or with each other has improved, as well as the fact that there are less disruptions in the classroom. So, this product was not our first product. And I think that's what really helped us, is that we understood that so many people needed to understand why breathing was important. You asked me, why is breathing something that's valuable? Like, what is the science behind that? A lot of people understand the idea that breathing could probably help them, but they definitely don't know the science behind it. And they maybe aren't convinced that it's worth their time. So there's a lot of education that's necessary for our customers to understand why these tools are important. What's wild is once you convince them and they buy it, they're really happy. It's that, how do you get them to purchase it and buy into this idea? Because it does require parental involvement. It requires a child life specialist. It requires a teacher, right? It requires someone to do it along with the child. It is not a wholly individual opportunity. So I think that is the biggest hurdle when selling products in the mindfulness space for kids in particular. I think child life is a really interesting thing for us. And one of the reasons we're working with Pete's Market is that, we recognize that for kids who are in a hospital, in some sort of outpatient, who need, care from that situation, they need help managing their stress. And child life specialists are trying to encourage different ways of deep breathing. And something like a Bloomy tool that they can, take out of a bag is, again, a really effective portable way to teach kids how to manage that. And so for us, also be continuing to reach more child life specialists is something we're working on. So the future of Calm Caterpillar really is dependent on how we can share this idea of breath work, mindfulness being crucial to kids' developmental success. When we think about, the benchmarks that a child meets to go from one grade to the next, breathing and mindfulness isn't a part of that. And for me, like, my vision is that that becomes something that is a requirement schools have, right? We want to ensure that as kids age through elementary school, they really have this technique and understand how it's going to help them manage their stress. Because if they do, then it means that they're going to be equipped to handle middle school, high school, and all of the big stress that comes with being an adult. And we know that when we learn something as a child, right, the motor learning theory model tells us that we're going to increase the amount of repetitions. This is going to become cognitive because we've known it for so long, right? It really imprints on our life. When I think about Calm Caterpillar products and the opportunity for these to be used by clinicians inside hospitals, I'm really excited, because when we talk about hospitals as a place where not only are you caring for a sick child, you're also helping that child get ready to leave the hospital and to manage their care outside of that space. And I think our tools are so useful when a child life specialist comes into a patient's room who is dealing with anxiety from whatever's going on, is maybe afraid about what's happening. And so by teaching kids these tools, it's really going to help them manage whatever the rest of their care looks like as they continue, and to help somebody, leave the hospital in more of a positive light. It allows the child life specialist to really think about, how can I connect with this kid? How can I give them a skill that's going to be with them when they leave this room? And when I think about how breathing, and specifically mindfulness, is such an important life skill for kids, I think about how it's with you no matter where you are. Right? Even if you don't have one of these tools with you, if you use these tools enough, you begin to really understand and internalize how it's always with you. And, when we think about hospitals and sick kids and caring for sick kids, we want to leave something with them that's going to improve them as they walk out that door. And we know that breathing, which reduces cortisol, right, increases blood flow, is literally going to help kids do better.